What if you could make your brain measurably younger? Not through supplements, not through brain games, but through something you can start doing this afternoon. A rigorous clinical trial just delivered some remarkable news. And the evidence isn't vague or hand-wavy, it showed up clearly on MRI scans. I'm going to walk you through exactly what researchers found and what it means for your brain starting today. Here's the headline: adults who exercised for 1 year showed brains that looked nearly a full year younger than non-exercisers. Same chronological age, younger-looking brains. Not younger in some abstract sense, younger as measured by validated algorithms analyzing actual brain structure. The kind of difference you can point to. And here's what makes this study stand out. The researchers couldn't fully explain why it worked, not because the study was flawed, but because exercise seems to help the brain in ways we don't yet understand. Before we get into the specifics, let's talk about how scientists measure brain age in the first place. It's not as straightforward as counting candles on a cake. Brain age is a concept that combines MRI scans with machine learning. Researchers feed thousands of brain images into algorithms along with the ages of the people scanned. The algorithm learns what brains typically look like at different ages, the structural patterns, the volume of gray matter, the thickness of the cortex. Then when you show it a new brain scan, it makes a prediction. It says, based on what I've learned, this brain looks like it belongs to a 53-year-old. If you're actually 53, great, your brain is aging as expected. But if you're 48, that's a 5-year gap. Your brain looks older than your birthday says it should. And that gap matters. Research has linked brains that look older than expected to increased risk of cognitive decline, dementia, and neurological disease. So when researchers talk about making the brain younger, they're not speaking metaphorically. They're measuring actual structural changes that predict future health. The 150 minutes per week recommendation isn't new. The CDC, the World Health Organization, the American Heart Association, they've all been saying this for years. But until now, we didn't have strong randomized trial evidence showing that this specific dose produces visible structural brain changes. This study changes that. And one more piece of context. Midlife, roughly your 40s and 50s, is increasingly recognized as a critical window for brain health interventions. This is when subtle cognitive changes may begin, decades before any dementia symptoms appear. What you do now may shape your brain's trajectory for years to come. Now let's look at the study itself. Published in January 2026 in the Journal of Sport and Health Science, it followed 130 healthy but inactive adults for 1 full year. The participants range from 26 to 58 years old, and that age range is important. It spans from young adulthood well into midlife. This was a randomized controlled trial, the gold standard in clinical research. Participants were randomly assigned to either an exercise group or a control group. The exercise group did 2 supervised 60-minute aerobic sessions per week, plus additional home exercise. Total target: 150 minutes of moderate activity weekly. Moderate intensity means you can talk, but not sing. Think brisk walking, cycling, swimming, or dancing. Activities that get your heart rate up without leaving you gasping. At the end of 12 months, all participants got another MRI scan. And here's where things got interesting. The exercisers' brains looked nearly a full year younger on the scans. Their brain pad, that's predicted age difference, dropped by about 0.6 years on average. Meanwhile, the control group's brain pad actually increased slightly. Their brains looked a little older than expected after the same 12 months. Think about what that means. In just 1 year, the gap between exercisers and non-exercisers was roughly a full year of brain aging. 1 year of activity for 1 year of younger-looking brain structure. Now here's where this study gets really fascinating. The researchers didn't just measure the effect, they tried to figure out why it happened. They tested all the expected mechanisms: blood flow to the brain, inflammatory markers, cardiovascular fitness improvements, the usual suspects. And none of them fully explained the brain aging effect. The researchers write that they checked several likely explanations, and none of them panned out. This isn't a failure of the study. It's actually one of its most intriguing findings. Exercise appears to benefit the brain through pathways we haven't fully mapped yet. Some researchers speculate it could involve neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells. Others point to improvements in brain connectivity that current scans can't fully capture. There's also growing evidence that exercise affects gene expression, essentially changing which genes are active in brain tissue, but we're still in early days of understanding these mechanisms. What we do know is that the effect was consistent across the age range in the study. Benefits showed up whether you were in your late 20s or your late 50s. That's encouraging news for people who think they might have missed their window. The evidence suggests there's benefit to starting at any point in this range and possibly beyond. Now, some researchers do raise questions about brain age as a measurement. Does looking younger on a scan actually translate to better thinking, better memory, reduced dementia risk? This study didn't run long enough to answer that definitively. We can see the structural changes, but the long-term cognitive outcomes will take more years to track. That said, the brain age metric has been validated in other research. Brains that look older than expected have consistently been associated with worse outcomes down the road. So while we can't say exercise will definitely prevent dementia, we can say it produces measurable structural changes that have been linked to better brain health trajectories. So what does this mean for you? Let's get practical. The study used 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity per week. That's the number to remember. How you break that up is flexible. 5 30-minute sessions, 3 50-minute workouts, 2 longer sessions plus shorter daily movement. Whatever fits your life. The key is moderate intensity. You should be able to talk during the activity but not sing. If you can belt out your favorite song, push a little harder. Brisk walking counts. Cycling counts. Swimming, dancing, hiking, playing tennis. All of these qualify. You don't need a gym membership or expensive equipment. If you're currently inactive, don't try to hit 150 minutes in your first week. Start with what you can sustain, 20 minutes 3 times a week, then build from there. Consistency matters more than perfection. Missing a day doesn't erase your progress. Just get back to it. The brain benefits come from sustained activity over months, not single heroic efforts. And here's something worth noting. The study participants did 2 supervised sessions per week. Having scheduled commitments helped them stay on track. You might consider a walking buddy, a fitness class, or even just putting your workouts on your calendar like any other important appointment. Structure helps. One more thing. This study focused on aerobic exercise specifically. The brain benefits shown here came from activities that get your heart pumping and keep it elevated. That doesn't mean strength training isn't valuable. It is for many other reasons. But if younger-looking brain structure is your goal, prioritize the cardio. Before starting any new exercise program, especially if you've been inactive, consult your doctor. They can help you find the right starting point for your individual health situation. And if you're finding value in this kind of research breakdown, consider subscribing. We cover new health studies every week, always focused on what the evidence actually shows. The American College of Sports Medicine just released their 2026 Fitness Trends Report. Wearable technology came in at number 1. People increasingly want data about their bodies. But here's what's interesting. You don't need any technology to get the brain benefits from exercise. No tracker, no app, no heart rate monitor. Just movement. The study participants didn't have fancy equipment. They did supervised sessions that included activities most people can do anywhere. Walking, cycling, basic aerobic movements. That's actually reassuring. The brain benefits aren't locked behind expensive gym memberships or specialized training. They're available to almost anyone who can move. A massive study cited by the American Medical Association looked at exercise and longevity across large populations. The findings align with this brain research. 150 minutes weekly shows consistent benefits. What's emerging is a picture where that 150-minute threshold isn't arbitrary. It seems to be a dose where multiple body systems, including the brain, respond measurably. Now, can you get more benefits with more exercise? Possibly. But this study shows that 150 minutes is enough to see structural brain changes. You don't need to become a marathon runner. That matters because sustainability is everything. A workout routine you abandon after 3 weeks does nothing for your brain. One you maintain for years changes it. So pick activities you actually enjoy. If you hate running, don't run. Dance, swim, play pickleball. Whatever gets you moving consistently is the right exercise for you. And remember, the benefits in this study took 12 months to measure. This isn't a quick fix. It's a long-term investment in your brain's future. The researchers at Advent Health Research Institute emphasized that midlife is a critical window, but they also noted benefits across the full age range studied. Whether you're 28 or 58, the evidence suggests your brain can benefit from regular aerobic exercise. It's never too early, and it may not be too late. The mystery of why exercise works so well on the brain may actually be a feature, not a bug. It suggests that movement activates multiple protective pathways simultaneously. No single drug we've developed can do what exercise does. It's like a full-body intervention that touches everything from your cardiovascular system to your gene expression. That's one reason health guidelines are so consistent about exercise. Even when the mechanisms aren't fully understood, the outcomes speak for themselves. So here's what we know. A randomized controlled trial followed 130 adults for a year. Those who exercised showed brains that looked nearly a year younger on MRI scans. The magic number was 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity weekly, the same recommendation you've heard before, now backed by visible structural brain changes. Scientists still can't fully explain why it works, and that might be the most fascinating part. Exercise seems to help the brain in ways we're only beginning to understand. What you do with this information is up to you. But if you're looking for one evidence-backed thing you can do for your brain, starting today, the answer is pretty clear. Move your body. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your doctor before making changes to your health routine.